Hello and welcome everybody to Trekalicious. Hello Doc Milmy, let's go racing indeed. It is time for Wednesday racing at Trekalicious. Here we go. At Brands Hatch tonight, it is Hump Day, and Hump Day means ACC multi-class action. We've got round 2 around Brands Hatch. Lots of chaos to be had as the chat is predicting here. Qualifying is getting started here. We've got the GT4s and the GT3s in this multi-class session in ACC. Hope you all are doing well in the chat, on the track, wherever you may be joining us from. Hope you are having a good Wednesday so far. And we are here to make things better by bringing you the best ACC multi-class action on a Wednesday night you could possibly have. And with that being said, let's head to Brands Hatch, set in the hillsides of the British countryside, and let's go see what the action is all about. 20-minute session ahead of us. The GT4 is lining up at the end of the pit lane. Technically 21 minutes, but that 1 minute is for the GT4s to get their setups ready to get going. And as they continue to wait until that 20-minute timer ticks, and there it is. Ilpo Rutsalainen will lead the way. Neil Kerbel next. Then you have Ryan Eason and Colin Sugg here in the number 34 Porsche. Will be out on track next, followed by the purple livery, very made famous by Brian DeSantiago in the 777 BMW. Currently conditions are optimum, but things can change at any moment here at Brands Hatch. And with how the server conditions are, it looks like we will have a dry qualifying, no rain predicted in the next 30 minutes, but that can all change come the race. But that is later. Qualifying is now. We've got things to focus on for the time being. Joel Hunter in Hunt's Primo Salsa Camaro, the number 55, going down through Pilgrim's Drop, or approaching Pilgrim's Drop, I should say. Not quite there yet. Here he is, going right down the chute of the hillside before the very quick right-hander at the bottom at Hawthorne's. Of course, this is just the outlap for our drivers here. We will wait to see what sort of times they can put on the board. Ilpo Rutsalainen taking out a few cones on his way to the line to the start of his first flying lap. He will lead the GT4 field in the beginning of the flying lap count. Clear track ahead of him. Doesn't look like there is too much of a wall getting formed at the end of the pit lane. So Ilpo here will try to set the first flying lap attempt. Andre Alex Afonso in the Maserati, the lone Maserati on the grid this evening. The 999 has the Alpine just in front of Obrochta, the 331 Alpine. Oh, and Alex Afonso nearly losing the car already, but keeping it within track limits, so he will be able to continue on his flying lap attempt. But that was a deadly snap of oversteer from the Maserati. Still continuing on, approaching turn 4, Surtees. Very difficult to get the power down early on as you climb the hill, and it ever so slightly breaks away, but then it comes back to you towards the end, and then one of the fastest points of the track down through Pilgrim's Drop. A dab of the brakes in the Maserati, going through the quick right-hander as he now approaches Dingle Dell, going through the drop as Ilpo Rutsalainen comes to the line. He is able to put a 131.372 on the board. Oh, excuse me, that's the time of Neil Kerbel. Rutsalainen just 15 thousandths off of the time set by Neil Kerbel at the front, but we are focusing here on Andre Alex Afonso coming up to the line to finish his first flying lap attempt. What will it be in the Maserati? Can he compete with those at the front? Where will he find himself after his first lap? He will be in 8th place for the time being. Still plenty of time left in the session, but Neil Kerbel out on top. Ilpo is next. Then you have Rob Obrochta, then Brian DeSantiago in 4th, Ryan Eason in 5th, Dr. Porkchop just now finding a time good enough for 6th place, then Shane Sullivan in 7th, Landcloud in 8th, Wade Georgeson is in 9th, Andre Alex Afonso, who we just saw cross the line in the Maserati, is in the top 10, just rounding it out, then Joel Hunter in 11th, and then you have, or that is the last of those who have set a valid lap. Professor Chronotis gets into the top 5 in the 42 AMG as he goes to the line. And here is Colin Sugg. No valid lap on the board yet for the 34 Porsche, but he just has 2 corners to go. One now after going through Sterling's, a slight downhill drop, a dab on the brakes at the brake board, and trying to carry as much speed as he can in the sweeping start-finish straight here at Brands Hatch. No time on the board. Where will Colin Sugg find himself? He sneaks into the top 5, pushes Professor Chronotis to 6th, and he is very, very close to the time of Brian DeSantiago. DeSantiago, Sugg, and Chronotis separated by just about 0.03 of a second. Nearly nothing separating 4th, 5th, and 6th place. Neil Kerbel, though, with a hefty advantage at the front. Can Ilpo Ruotsalainen find a good time on the board? He is currently under yellow flag conditions in the pit lane as he will get some fresh tires on the car and try to go out for another qualifying stint here. Last 5 minutes remaining for the GT4s in this qualifying session of Professor Chronotis in the T-Swizzicious. The number 42 AMG currently just outside the top 5, needs just a little bit of time and he could potentially jump to Santiago, but not able to find the time on that flying lap attempt. Will have to go around once more to see if he can crack that top 5. Ryan Eason also just sitting outside the top 5. About 0.3 will sneak him up past Colin Sugg in the 34 Porsche. And here the Jurassic Racing number 2 going through the final bends of the start-finish straight, quote-unquote straight if you could call it, is able to improve his time, but not quite able to jump any positions, unlike Colin Sugg, who does jump past Brian DeSantiago and gets himself up into 4th place, pushes DeSantiago just outside that top 5 position. Alex Freeman here in the AF Sport Aston Martin, the number 14, currently finding himself just outside the top 10, needs about 0.3 to sneak past Dr. Porkchop in the 71 AMG, and he will find himself sitting pretty on the grid. 3 minutes left in the session. This is crucial now for the lap times to count here. Does not want to run a little bit wide, as he does not. Exiting Sheen's curve, now dropping through Sterling's up the hill and then back down through the Pirelli bridge. More like a pedestrian crossing, I should say, rather than a bridge. And now through Clark Curve and to the start-finish straight. Can Alex Freeman sneak into the top 10? He can. It is a position in the top 10 in 9th place. About 1.5 seconds off of pole position, and a further 0.4 will see him potentially jump past Ryan Eason, who sits in front of him in 8th place. Neil Kerbel still at the top of the leaderboard. 1:31.247 is the time to beat the Alpine, sitting in the final podium position in the GT4 qualifying, the 331 of Rob Obrochta. Approaching the line, trying to find a little bit of an improvement. Needs about half a second to try and jump Ilpo Ruotsalainen to find himself on the front row. No improvements on this lap. Will have a few two more attempts if he can nail this lap. And speaking of Ilpo, he is rounding out the final corner in the 204. Creme de la course, Camaro. Can he find that little bit of time he needs to jump past Kerbal? He finds that little bit of time, but not enough. And 13 thousandths separates our top two on the grid of the GT4s. Austin Doyle sneaking into the top 5 in the Porsche and finding another improvement on his lap. Needs about another 10th to jump past Dom Matroni, who sits in 4th place for the time being in the number 5 McLaren. So now is a very crucial time for the GT4s. Need to get a very good lap here. Ryan Eason up to the line, the number 2. Can he find himself higher up in the top 10 than 9th? He can. Jumps up to 7th. Pushes De Santiago to 8th. Professor Chronotis to 9th. And Alex Freeman sits on that 10th place position barrier. Dr. Porkchop in 11th in the pits. Abrochta the Alpine in the pits from 3rd, so that is the best that they can do should no other drivers improve past them. Then you have Jay Daly and Hunter in the pits in 17th and 18th respectively. Pretty close times all up and down the grid. And now with the 10-minute mark hitting, this is the time the checkered flag will wave for the GT4s. Can Landcloud jump any higher than 13th? Needs a bit of an improvement, and he will find himself in the top 10. He pushes Freeman into 11th, and Landcloud in the KTM sits in 10th for the time being. Colin Sugg with a good improvement on the last lap for the 34 Porsche gets up into 4th place. Dom Matroni 5th is the best that he can do, and now we will have to wait and see the times of the remaining GT4s. Shane Sullivan in 14th, cutting the course as much as he can in the 617 BMW, jumps up to 13th place in the 617 Racing. And that is the majority of the GT4 field back in the pits now. Professor Chronotis, one of the few remaining drivers out on track, and as is Andre Alex Afonso, not too far off. You can hear the Maserati slightly screaming in the background there, but the 42 dipping a wheel into the gravel at the final corner. Can he find an improvement still despite that? He can. He pushes De Santiago to 9th, and Professor Chronotis is in 8th place, and behind, can Andre Alex Afonso finish higher than 14th? He jumps up to 12th place, and that is Jake Wells in the GT3 beginning his flying lap attempt in the 5-2-7. Let's tune in with said GT3 driver Jake Wells as he takes us on a tour of Brands Hatch in the GT3s this time. But let's remind ourselves of the GT4 grid. We've got Neil Kerbal at the front, then you have Ilpo Rutsalainen, nearly nothing separating those two on the front row. Then you have Rob Obrochta, followed by Colin Sugg, then Dom Matroni in 5th place. Austin Doyle is in 6th, then Ryan Eason, then Professor Chronotis. Brian De Santiago in 9th. Alex Freeman rounds out the top 10. Then Landcloud in 11th. Andre Alex Afonso able to get 12th at that last second lap. Then Dr. Porkchop in 13th, followed by Shane Sullivan, Wade Georgeson, Noah Johnson, Jay Daly, and then you have Joel Hunter in 18th place. And now it is time for the GT3s to begin setting their flying lap attempts. Jake Wells will be the first to cross the line with a valid lap on the board. Where can the 5-2-7 go? It will be the top of the charts, unless Thiago Dinarte behind can do anything about it. 24.30 was the momentary time to beat, and now it is a 23.690, and it is immediately bettered. Or bettered, I don't know which word to say there, by Ricardo Rivera in the Puerto Rico E-Racing Club Ferrari. The winner from last time out, already able to find a really good lap into the 22s, is Ricardo Rivera. Now we have Matt Taylor in the Team RJN number 100 McLaren. Finds himself in a top 5 position, about 2.5 seconds off of the provisional pole time set by Ricardo Rivera. Buggy Watt next across the line. He sneaks up into 7th place in the 410. Yeah, bettered. I don't know. I don't know what word to use there. English isn't my first language. I'll use that as an excuse this time. Ryan Cooper in the 88 Mad Fox Sim Racing Porsche, unable to find a lap, or a valid lap I should say, on his last flying lap attempt, but still looking for that little bit of an improvement, as is Jake Wells. Again across the line, followed by Thiago Dinarte. He finds that improvement, sneaks past the 23, who is currently behind him on track, who was not able to find an improvement. Neither was Ricardo Rivera. 22.927, still the time to beat at the top of the GT3 board. Ryan Eason in the Pseudo Racing 78 Porsche has a few corners left around Brands Hatch to try and improve on his time. Currently finds himself in 7th place in the Porsche, but just 1 corner to go, and we will see if Ryan can find an improvement in the GT3 field. Up to the line. He does improve on his time, but needs a further 0.6 to catch up to Matt Taylor, who is currently sitting in 6th place. Here is Thiago Dinarte, the Brazilian in the number 23 McLaren, the Please Brake T1 McLaren, that is. Trying to use the slipstream of Jake Wells in front, but there really aren't too many straightaways to use that slipstream to your advantage. And as they both come up to the line, only Thiago Dinarte able to improve, so the 23 jumps the 527 on this go around, but runs a little bit wide at turn 1, potentially costing him that little bit of lap time he may need to stay in front of Jake Wells. The Bentley of Chandler Williams in the number 3 next to cross the line. Can he find that improvement to challenge the front row? He finds that little bit of time, but needs a further 0.05 of a second to catch up, or to better the lap time of Jake Wells in the 527 McLaren. Jason Provolone, the cheese man, the lone Ford on the grid. It ain't easy being cheesy. The slogan of Jason Provolone, the 82 up to the line, currently finding himself in a top 5 position, solidifies it by improving his lap time, and needs a further 0.5 second to challenge Chandler Williams in front of him in 4th place, but built a pretty good lap, or a pretty good distance to Matt Taylor behind, who finds himself in 6th place for the time being. The 2 McLarens of Jake Wells. Livery deep dive of Kerbal. You got it, my friend. We'll get it in the formation lap. We'll take a good look at that one, my friend. Jake Wells improves up to 2nd place. Thiago Dinarte also improving on that lap. They are both getting closer to Ricardo Rivera, who actually improves on his time at the top. A 22.810 from the 53 Ferrari. Now the provisional pole time to beat for the rest of the GT3 field. Ryan Bishop, a few corners to go. Going through Sterling's, now just Clark's curve left. Excuse me, folks, take a sip of tea there. Action always around Brands Hatch with how short of a track it is, but Ryan Bishop able to improve on his lap time, but not able to improve on his position. Has Ryan Cooper in front in the sister Porsche car of the 88. Mad Fox Sim Racing of Ryan Cooper up to the line on an outlap I believe that was for Ryan Cooper, now trying to get a valid lap on the board. The lone Lamborghini on the field, the Iron Lynx of Parker Standret, the number 60, driven by the Canadian driver. Rounding out the final corner and to the line, the V10 going over the grass on the inside. Not quite able to, or was able to improve on his lap time. So good on the number 60. Just needs a little bit more to try and challenge the position of Buggy Watt in 9th place. And speaking of Buggy Watt, here is the 410 Ferrari, the Overdrive Moza Racing. A 126.342 is the best time on the board from the Ferrari. Can he find an improvement to solidify his position over the car in 10th place, and not able to find it on this lap? And with 30 seconds left to go, he has decided to pull off to the side of the road, and that is the qualifying session done for the 410. So 9th will be the best that he can go, should no drivers improve behind. Ryan Cooper, though, improving up to 6th place and across the line before the timer hit 0, nearly sliding the Porsche through Paddock Hill Bend, but able to keep it all under control as he tries to go out for his last flying lap attempt in the qualifying session. As the time hit 0, the majority of the grid in the pits. Ricardo Rivera in the pits after improving his time to a 122.757. Then you have Jake Wells in 2nd place out on track, with Thiago Dinarte, Chandler Williams, and Jason Provolone, all 3 of those in the pits in 3rd, 4th, and 5th respectively. Then Ryan Cooper recently beginning his last flying lap attempt, sits just in front of Matt Taylor here in the 100 McLaren, who is trying to look for that improvement to jump past the Porsche, but he's unable to find the time. So 7th will be the position that Matt Taylor finishes. Then you have Ryan Bishop behind in 8th, with Buggy Watt in 9th, Parker Standret in 10th, and then Aaron John in 11th place. Ryan Cooper, the last GT3 on track, the Mad Fox Sim Racing 88, looking for an improvement at the last bit, and he can't find it, so he will go back to the pits. That's the qualifying session complete. Around Brands Hatch for round 2 in the GT3 and GT4 Multiclass Championship here at Trackalicious. If you are interested in signing up, spots are still open on SimGrid, !SimGrid for the link to that and all of the other championships that Trackalicious hosts throughout the week. So let's refresh ourselves with the starting grid. Start with the GT4s, since they finished first. We'll start with them, and we'll start with Neil Kerbel, who qualified in pole position in the Kerbel race program, also asking for that livery deep dive, so let us do just that while we have him here on the grid. The gradient from green to white, the flames on the top, showing that Neil Kerbel certainly has the pace. The Trackalicious logo on the wing, certainly showing his affiliation to the program here. Very happy to see that. Very neat looking livery, and he has the Kerbel race program logo. Forget what those guys are called, but they are from Kerbel Space Program. But nonetheless, very fun livery from Neil. Awesome to see the great variety of different cars we have out on track. And with that, Neil Kerbel on pole position. Ilpo Ruotsalainen will follow behind him in 2nd place in the 204 Creme de la Course Camaro, with Rob Obrochta in the 331 Alpine behind them on the 2nd row. Following Rob, you have Colin Sugg in the 34 Slug Racing Porsche, with Dom Matroni in 5th place of the GT4s. The number matches the starting position there. Austin Doyle in the number 11 Doyle Most Sport starts behind him, with Ryan Eason in the number 2, starting from the 4th row with Professor Chronotis behind him on that same row in the 42. T Swizzlicious AMG. Brian DeSantiago follows them in the 777 NPG Racing BMW with Alex Freeman in the number 14 Aston Martin. Not too far off. Very close qualifying times between the GT4. Should be a great race. Land Cloud sits just outside the top 10 in the KTM Grip Runners number 13 with Andre Alex Afonso behind him in the 999 Maserati. Then you have Dr. Porkchop in the Chop Shop Racing number 71. He's got Shane Sullivan for company behind him. The two podium finishers from Monday on the same row of the grid there. Then Wade Georgeson in the 420-ounce Camaro, the 707 on the grid, next to Noah Johnson in the 942 AMG. Then you have Jay Daly in the 139 OWP Racing with Joel Hunter in the Hunt's Primo Salsa behind, and Rally Dutchy and Jaeger Karu in the Mad Fox Racing cars. The 621, sorry, jumped over Rally Dutchy there. The Mad Fox Racing, the 621, unable to get a time on the board, as was Jaeger Karu in the GT3 field. So let's head to the GT3 field. At the front, you have Ricardo Rivera setting a blistering pace, nearly half a second clear of the next car on the front row, who is Jake Wells in the 527 JWR NLR Racing McLaren. Then you have Thiago Dinarte in the Please Brake T1 number 23 McLaren. He has Chandler Williams next to him in the number 3 Bentley. The Cheese Man behind him in 5th. I believe Jason Provolone was in 5th place. But nonetheless, 4th for Jason Provolone. It ain't easy being cheesy. Then Ryan Cooper in 6th in the Mad Fox Sim Racing 88. Then you've got Ryan Bishop in the Pseudo Racing 78. Oh my goodness. He is finding the limiter there. Oh no, the shifting is not working. I would say quickly try to go to the settings and remap them if you can. Then you've got Matt Taylor in the Team RJN number 100 McLaren with Buggy Watt in the 410 Ferrari, the Overdrive Moza Racing. We'll have Aaron John behind him in the 562, and that will round out the GT3 field. At Brands Hatch on Monday, so some of the GT4 drivers are familiar with the layout. No rain so far predicted. Optimum conditions out on track, just a little bit overcast, a little bit warm, but it is certainly not raining for the drivers in the race this evening. Should be an absolutely fun race. We got some GT3s working their way from the back. Hopefully we'll able to do so cleanly. Brands Hatch providing great action around the 2.43 mile layout. 9 corners. But crucially, track position is king. Ricardo Rivera leading the grid to the line, waiting for the green light to release the drivers for round 2.
Green light. Go, go, go.
And there is that green light. Jake Wells with a fantastic start around the outside, nearly gets the position already around Paddock Hill Bend. Thiago pushing Jake Wells to the limit, and now they're both going to go side by side for the lead of the GT3s. Can Jake Wells find the grip around the outside? No, he cannot. Thiago Dinarte sweeps back through into the lead, and with that Ricardo Rivera sweeps back through into the lead. Thiago Dinarte was trying to get the position on Jake Wells, but was unable to find that in the GT4s. Neil Kerbel dropping back behind Ilpo Ruotsalainen, but it's side by side between the two of them going through turn 4 at Surtees. Now up the hill a little bit onto the curbs goes the McLaren. Should be okay with the straight line speed advantage that the GT4 has, and now the Alpine will look to sneak up close, but Ilpo Ruotsalainen able to sneak past for the lead of the GT4s. Ricardo Rivera maintaining the lead up front in the GT3s with Jake Wells still close behind, and Thiago Dinarte also trying to get further up in those podium positions. Those two McLarens separated by nearly nothing as they go into the final corner. Chandler Williams is in 4th place in the Bentley. Then you have Jason Provolone in the Mustang, Ryan Cooper in 6th, Matt Taylor in 7th, Ryan Bishop in 9th, Buggy Watt 9th, Aaron John in 10th, and then in the GT4s, Ilpo Rutsalainen in the lead after Neil Kerbel dropping back from pole position. The 395 looking to get it though into turn 1 on the brakes, looking to the inside, a bit of contact between the two, pushing the Camaro onto the gravel, the Camaro coming back, Neil Kerbel slowing down to give the position back to the Camaro, but the Alpine of Rob Brochta is gonna sweep through both of them and take the lead of the race. After contact between the McLaren and the Camaro, finds Neil Kerbel. He was trying to give back the position to Ilpo, but Ilpo very much on the back foot there in the gravel, not able to get the position back cleanly, and he will drop back behind Kerbel, but the position will not be easy to give up as Austin Doyle in the number 11 will try to sneak on through in the Porsche. And there is Neil Kerbel letting Ilpo through, down through Pilgrim's Drop, and that is Dom Matroni trying to go side by side with the Porsche of Jaeger Carter. That is the GT3 working their way up through the field. And hopefully that is Ryan Eason behind in the number 2 Jurassic Racing. Under pressure from Alex Freeman now. He will look to get the position past the Camaro with Brian DeSantiago not too far in the distance. The GT4 is providing some absolutely epic racing in the early stages. Well, now Alex Freeman defending the inside from Brian DeSantiago. The BMW trying to carry the speed around the outside. Can he keep that momentum going with the GT3 Porsche trying to split the tube in the background? Alex Freeman confident and late on the brakes. Can Brian DeSantiago get the switchback? The inside is crucial to get into Druids. And Alex Freeman covering off that position, but once again susceptible to that switchback from Brian DeSantiago. Alex Freeman very skillfully defending that inside line. The 999 Maserati yellow flagged at the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, recovering back out on track. But Alex Freeman very well on the inside line, defending the position from the BMW pretty heavily on the curbs on the inside, though this might cost him a bit of top speed as Brian DeSantiago tries to get closer and closer. The GT3 Porsche looking to get both of those cars before the turn at Hawthorns through turn 5. Very difficult to go side by side, maintaining the speed though. The Porsche that is Rally Dutchy in the 621 trying to get those positions up and work his way up in the GT3 field, but the Brands Hatch very narrow, very difficult to go side by side through a lot of these corners, and Alex Freeman doesn't want to lose too much speed as he has Brian DeSantiago now side by side for company. Rally Dutchy oversteering into the wall there. Unfortunate there, nearly contact between the two GT4s, Alex Freeman and DeSantiago. DeSantiago has the inside though. The 777 BMW sweeps through potentially, but Freeman in the Aston Martin really hanging it out on the outside, has the grip, has the pace, and the two are still side by side. Dr. Porkchop licking his lips to try and get involved in this battle as well, side by side once again through Paddock Hill Bend and into Druids. Will Brian DeSantiago send it late on the brakes in the inside? Alex Freeman covering it off, giving him just about a car's width to work with, and Alex Freeman once again showing a defensive masterclass slash offensive. Oh my goodness me, these two are really battling, and now Dr. Porkchop trying to get in the mix as well. Let's check in with the GT3s real quick as these GT4s go through Paddock Hill Bend. Thiago Dinarte unable to get past the McLaren rival of Jake Wells in the 527, still within half a second. This is allowing Ricardo Rivera to move a little bit further up the road. Does have the fastest lap of the race as well does Ricardo Rivera, and about 1.5 seconds separates him from the battling McLarens for the final podium positions. Chandler Williams in the number 3, not giving them any breathing room though, just about a second behind, challenging that final podium position. Then you have Jason Provolone rounding out the top 5 in the number 82 Mustang, has about 5 seconds in front, 5 seconds behind, a bit of no man's land for the time being for the cheese man himself. But anything can happen come the pit stops. Then you have Ryan Cooper in 6th, Matt Taylor in 7th, Ryan Bishop in 8th, Buggy Watt in 9th, Aaron John in 10th, Jaeger Karu is in 11th in the GT3 field, and Neil Kerbel still behind Ilpo after losing the position at the race start, looking to get the position. Ilpo running a little bit wide through Surtees, and now up the hill the 2 GT4s go. Then we know the McLaren has a great straight line speed advantage, but is this enough of a straightaway for him to use it? Sends a bit of a dummy move to the inside of the very quick right-hander at Hawthorne's at the bottom of the hill. And then Austin Doyle is not too far off, 2 seconds. He takes the final podium position away from the Alpine, who has in fact dropped behind the Professor. Professor Chronotis is in 4th place in the GT4s, and then you have the Alpine in 5th with Dom Matroni in 6th, Ryan Eason in 7th, Colin Sugg in 8th, and Rally Dutchy there in the GT3. Porsche trying to work his way through the field. Alex Freeman and Brian DeSantiago were battling it out like crazy earlier in the race, as they continue to do just that. Ryan Eason side by side with Brian DeSantiago. They are going to battle it out down the start-finish straight, as is Colin Sugg getting through on the inside of Professor Chronotis. He gets that move done, and Ryan Eason in the background able to sweep around the outside. Can the Mercedes get through the inside of Druids? And again, side by side go the Mercedes and the Porsche of Colin Sugg, but Colin Sugg gets past the Mercedes. Mercedes carrying a great load of speed on the exit of turn 3. Up into Surtees they go. Defending the inside is the Porsche, but the Mercedes once again getting a great exit. Colin Sugg already to the defensive on the inside, down Pilgrim's Drop and into Hawthorne's. Can they really go side by side through here? They are. They're going to try and do it, and still nothing separating them for the position. Colin Sugg and the tiny Porsche trying to hang it out around the inside, but Professor Chronotis runs a little bit wide, costing him that little bit of speed. And once again onto the grass he goes on the exit, under control on the brakes though, has to tuck back in behind the Porsche, and all in the meanwhile this is allowing Alex Freeman, Ryan Eason, Brian DeSantiago, and Shane Sullivan, or excuse me, Dr. Porkchop that is, to get even closer to this battle here. Super epic stuff between the GT4s. Alex Freeman defending to the inside. Ryan Eason looking to get the position, but he tucks back, and Alex Freeman runs a little bit deep. So now side by side are the Aston Martin and the Camaro. The Camaro has the inside into Druids. Can Alex Freeman hang it around the outside, keep the speed going a little bit wide, and he will just have to tuck back in behind the Camaro. But he now is under pressure from DeSantiago, looking to get the switchback done. Can the BMW find the room on the inside in the braking zone of Surtees? He's certainly lining it up, and he sticks his nose in front. Alex Freeman trying to carry the speed, and now Dr. Porkchop in the AMG looking to get the position on Alex Freeman. Can he do it? He's just not close enough into Hawthorne's, the very quick right-hander, as we saw Colin Sugg and Professor Chronotis go side by side all the way through here. It is certainly possible, but Dr. Porkchop just not close enough on this lap to do that just yet. Noah Johnson side by side with Shane Sullivan. Oh, and a wheel in the grass cost him a bit of grip in the brakes and unable to keep it around the outside. And now keeping out of the way of the GT3 field. This is one of the overlap periods, and that is the Porsche. Who is that? Is that the 34 of Colin Sugg going slowly? It is. So after his battle with Professor Chronotis, he has dropped back a significant amount, unfortunately, for Colin Sugg, but that was great battling earlier on from him, and he may be going to the pits here, as Alex Freeman also in the pits for his usual early pit stop. And now one of these overlap periods can be crucial in getting the positions done and dusted for the GT3s and the GT4s. Brian DeSantiago not giving Ryan Easton any breathing room, challenging the Camaro down the straight with that straight line speed advantage. So now the 777 looking to get any position he can, and that is the leader, Ricardo Rivera of the GT3s, flashing his lights, trying to find any place to pass past the GT4 field that he can. Like we mentioned, very narrow track at Brands Hatch. Just about wide enough for GT3 racing. Absolutely epic race for the GT4 rookies on Monday here at Trackalicious, and it is proving to be absolutely the same in the GT3 and GT4 multi-class. There is Jake Wells in second place in the GT3s, going through the field. And not too far behind, I should say, is the Bentley of Chandler Williams, who has got past Thiago Dinarte. Unfortunately for the McLaren driver, the 23 finding himself a bit further back down the grid now in fourth place, but still within touching distance of that final podium position. So he will certainly look to put some consistent lap times in and get that place back from Chandler Williams. Perhaps just a bit, of the GT3 and GT4 overlap, costing Thiago Dinarte a bit of lap time. But still, we know he has the pace, still plenty of race to go for him to get back into that final podium position and maybe even challenge Jake Wells at the front. Anything can happen in multi-class racing, and that is why we love it. The 777 around the outside, not able to stick it around there and not having the grip just yet to get those moves done. And there is Thiago Dinarte working his way through the field, getting on the bumper of Ryan Easton. Very close is the Cheeseman now in that battle for fourth and fifth place, as he himself tries to work through the BMW of Brian DeSantiago. Overlapping are the two of them, and now Neil Kerbel still in second place in the GT4s. That is Rally Dutchy there in the 621 Mad Fox Racing, trying to get through the GT4 field, but as he does so, running a little bit wide on the corner exit, allowing the 395 to creep just that little bit closer to Ruotsalainen in front. But Ruotsalainen very happy where he is in front of the Kerbel Race Program 395 McLaren for the time being. Got a couple of drivers completing their pit stops, and there Ilpo Ruotsalainen running a little bit wide side by side. The GT4s, the battle has not concluded, I should say, but it has swung in the favor of Neil Kerbel, able to work his way through with the GT3 traffic, as that is Ricardo Rivera in the lead of the race, working his way through the leaders of the GT4s. Neil Kerbel benefiting from Ilpo Ruotsalainen running just that tad wide, so he sweeps through for the lead of the GT4s. And then Chandler Williams, oh, he was down the inside of Ilpo. I thought he was going down the inside of Jake Wells already, as the two McLarens The GT3 and the GT4 getting through, and Neil Kerbel back on the racing line, getting in front of the Bentley. Chandler Williams going to the inside, trying to continue to stay close to the bumper of Jake Wells as best as he can, as that battle heats up between the duo there, battling it out for second and third place. 2.1 seconds is the gap to Ricardo Rivera in the lead of the race in the Puerto Rico E-Racing Club. Oh, the E-Racing Club Ferrari, I should say. And now with that little bit of overlapping, the gaps have opened up a little bit between the field. Ricardo Rivera leading the way. Of all of the drivers, and Neil Kerbel leading the way in the GT4 field, just recently inheriting that lead from Ilpo Ruotsalainen after he had a bit of a skirmish with the GT3s, finding himself on the suboptimal line on the outside, opening the door for the McLaren to sweep on through, and sweep through Neil Kerbel did. Now Thiago Dinarte in the GT3 trying to work his way through and get by the GT4s, trying to find that consistent bit of clean air so that the McLaren can work his way back through the field after falling back a little bit earlier on in the race. We've got Rally Dutchy and Aaron John, Dr. Porkchop in the pits as well in the GT4s. And so he will look to get the undercut early on in the race. Alex Freeman already serving his pit stop, as did Colin Sugg. Same with Jay Daly. So they went for the super early pit stop to try and get the undercut done on their competitors out in front. Here's the KTM of Landcloud, and the grip runners looking to find the grip around the inside this time. And unfortunately for him, he had Buggy Watt storming on through in the GT3, so no room for Landcloud to go down the inside of Surtees. But Landcloud on the tail of Shane Sullivan, trying to get that position from the BMW driver. KTM trying to stay as close to the tail of the BMW as possible, but Shane Sullivan proving a difficult opponent to catch. The podium sitter from Monday evening's race at Brands Hatch certainly knows how to find the pace around this track in the GT4s. But Landcloud also featured in that race on Monday in the KTM, certainly. Oh, and a bit of a tap between the two, and Shane Sullivan bumped into the pit lane, and he will elect to just come into the pits and not lose the time and serve that pit stop. But unfortunate bit of contact, maybe costing a bit of damage to the front of the KTM. Might just fix that in the pit stop though, as the Mercedes in front kicking up a bit of dust on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. So gaps opening up, some gaps closing down as we approach the 30-minute mark of the race. Brian DeSantiago still on the tail of the Camaro of Ryan Eason. Will look to get that position from the number 2 out in front. In the Jurassic Racing is Ryan Eason, the NPG Racing purple livery of Brian DeSantiago, which we have seen in the past. Then you have Jaeger Karu there in the pits in the 920 Porsche. He serves, or he comes into the pits to serve that mandatory pit stop. Speaking of that mandatory pit stop, it is mandatory for both the GT3s and the GT4s. It is a 25-second fixed refueling pit stop, and then the drivers have the choice if they want to add an additional 5 seconds to that pit stop time and take on fresh tires to have that potential advantage over their opponents, should they elect not to do the same strategy. And with Landcloud getting past Shane Sullivan in a rather unorthodox way in the Grip Runners KTM, now on the tail of Noah Johnson in the 942 AMG, the pink AMG there in the front of shot, trying to build the gap to Landcloud in that very fun livery that we are used to seeing from the KTM. So this duo rounds Surtees. Johnson kicking up the dirt on the exit, running onto the curbs there. Just trying to carry as much speed as he possibly can to get away from the KTM of Cloud, but he is proving very difficult to run away from, not giving any breathing room to the AMG in front. And is this the opportunity that the KTM can get closer? Oh, and he's pushing the AMG, not literally, but mentally in the head of the AMG, forcing him to try to carry as much speed as he can, and he's unable to find the grip going through Sheen's curve, and the KTM easy does it down the inside there as Johnson. Good car control from him though, after going on the grass, keeping the AMG pointed in the correct direction. Will look to stay on the tail of the KTM to perhaps continue their battle in the remaining half of the race. Jake Wells is in the pits. He was in second place before that moment, but now the 527 serving that mandatory pit stop here. The lone car in the pits for the time being, as we have a bit of the grid completing the pit stops, a bit of the grid yet to do so. On that indicator there on the left, if the drivers have a 1 next to their name, that means they have not completed that mandatory pit stop, and if there is a green tab next to their name, that means they have already come in, as Shane Sullivan was trying to get by Austin Doyle there, I do believe. Up ahead a lap though from these two, Dr. Porkchop in the AMG pushing Austin Doyle a little bit wide, and the Alpine will benefit from that as Austin Doyle getting pushed onto the gravel on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, while Dr. Porkchop now down the inside of Shane Sullivan gets the position, but Shane Sullivan will fight back. He has the inside going into Surtees. He goes late on the brakes, covering off the apex. Dr. Porkchop there, the Alpine and the GT3 of Jake Wells both going through there. Lapped traffic galore here in the multi-class GT3 and GT4 race around Brands Hatch. Ryan Eason, DeSantiago, and Noah Johnson, all three of those GT4s in the pits here, serving that mandatory pit stop. And Dr. Porkchop, after finding the position past Shane Sullivan, unfortunately wasn't able to keep it with the BMW, finding the position on the inside of Surtees, and now the Alpine there of Rob Abrochta, trying to get through the lap traffic, as was Austin Doyle there in the number 11. Still yet to complete their pit stop. Now Obrochta comes into the pits in the Alpine as we hit the exact halfway minute mark of the race.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
So with the Alpine out of the way of the battling duo of Dr. Porkchop in the 71, looking to get the move done on Shane Sullivan in the 617 Racing. BMW up in front. The blue BMW versus the mint Mercedes. Who will get the position come the end of the race? The two German cars here at BMW and Mercedes. Pretty equally matched, I would say. Very good all-arounders. Good, able to keep good grip through the corners, have pretty decent top speed between them. So pretty evenly matched, I would say. And they were certainly both evenly matched on Monday night, and they find themselves out on track together here again on Wednesday in the same week. Pork Chop kicking up a bit of gravel on the exit of Sheens, but still keeping the Mercedes pointed in the correct direction, was able to get right on the tail of the 617, showing that he has the speed to catch up. But it is one thing to catch up, it is a complete other animal to try and overtake the leader of the GT3s, I believe, Ricardo Rivera, in the pits, as he now comes out behind Jake Wells. It looks like Jake Wells was able to get that position on Ricardo Rivera, so hopefully no big issues for Ricardo there. A very lengthy pit stop for him, so perhaps a bit of a pit stop glitch costing Ricardo Rivera the lead of the GT3s. He is in fact behind Chandler Williams also, so more than likely Jake Wells will inherit the lead of the race. And it will come to where Thiago Dinarte comes out after his pit stop in the 23 McLaren. Is this a league? This is a league. Signups are open on SimGrid, exclamation mark SimGrid will take you to the link to get signed up for this league and any other league that Trackalicious hosts throughout the week. Happy to have anybody join us in any of the races we are hosting. Hope you're all having a pleasant Wednesday. Happy hump day to everyone. We made it through the middle of the week, and we can look forward to the remaining half. Thiago Dinarte out of the pits, out behind Chandler Williams and Jake Wells, but he is in front of Ricardo Rivera. So Ricardo Rivera, a very, very costly mistake for him, finding himself drop out behind the podium positions. But we know Ricardo Rivera has the pace. Can he find those positions in the closing 22 minutes of the race? Has the fastest lap of the race. And let's see just what will happen. About 8 seconds separates him from Thiago Dinarte. Jake Wells out in the lead in the 527 McLaren. Has about 4 seconds. Where is it based? It's 5 a.m. where I live, so I assume America. Yes, this is American-based community here at Trackalicious. But of course, everyone is welcome. If you make the time, if the time works for you, the time works for you. You know, we're happy to have anybody on board. So Professor Chronotis, yet to complete that mandatory pit stop, is in front in the GT4 field. And in fact, after the pit stop, Ilpo Ruotsalainen finds himself in front of Neil Kerbel. Nearly 7 seconds is the gap between the two drivers there. Perhaps Neil Kerbel electing to take tires, whereas Ilpo with a less than 30-second pit stop on the board. Happy with the condition of his tires and happy to keep them on the car and get that track position over over Neil Kerbel. So like we said about Ricardo Rivera, we can say the same about Neil Kerbel. Certainly having the pace in the 959, will look to use it to his advantage in the closing 20 minutes of the race to try and challenge Ilpo for the win of the GT4 field. Ryan Cooper, not the last of the GT3s, but out in the lead of the GT3s into the pits after completing 20 laps. in the Mad Fox Sim Racing Porsche. So after all that, Jake Wells out in front after completing all of the necessary mandatory pit stops in the race. Has a 3-second gap to the Bentley of Chandler Williams, who has about a 6-second gap over Thiago Dinarte for that final podium position. Ricardo Rivera now in 4th place, looking to use his pace to get close to Thiago Dinarte. Jason Provolone, the cheese man, sits in a top 5 place with Ryan Cooper in 6th. Then Buggy Watt, yet to complete a pit stop, is in 7th place. Then you have Matt Taylor in 8th, Ryan Bishop in 9th, Jaeger Karu in 10th, then Aaron John in 11th place in the GT3 field. Buggy Watt yet to complete his pit stop. Ilpo Ritzalainen in the lead of the GT4s. He is followed by Neil Kerbel. Then you have Austin Doyle after his little bit of a skirmish with some lapped cars, finding himself back in front of the Alpine of Obrochta. And he will look to keep that track position, but the Alpine, a nimble machine, certainly well suited for the corners at Brands Hatch. Not a lot of straights for the other cars to take advantage of the little Alpine, so we will have to certainly wait and see this battle for the podium of the GT4s continue in the closing stages of the race. Dom Matroni also not too far off in the number 5. And that is one of the Camaros going off in front, I believe. Not sure who that is, but a bit of damage it looked like on the front, oh, excuse me, of that Camaro. Ryan Eason is next in the GT4s, followed by Professor Chronotis. Then you have Alex Freeman, after using his usual undercut strategy, finds himself in a good position up in front of De Santiago, who he was battling with earlier in the race. And speaking of De Santiago, he is just behind. And then the 2 BMW drivers out on track together with the 617 of Shane Sullivan. Dr. Porkchop behind him, and then Andre Alex Afonso in the 999 Maserati looking to close the gap to Dr. Porkchop. Then Land Cloud in the KTM sits behind the Maserati with Wade Georgeson behind, and then you have Colin Sugg, Noah Johnson, Jay Daly, and Joel Hunter rounds out the grid in the GT4s. Still plenty of time left, still lots of overlapping between the GT3s and the GT4s, so it is still anybody's race. Any position can change at any moment in time. Oh, and that was Wade Georgeson with a bit of an oversteer moment after Druids, and now Colin Sugg getting the position over the Camaro driver. And Colin Sugg battling with a big train earlier on, now has a bit of a gap to Land Cloud in front. It's about 8 seconds with about 16 minutes left in the race. We'll have to use all of the pace in the Porsche and extract it to the best of his abilities. We certainly know Colin Sugg is a skilled driver as he continues his charge up the field. Professor Chronotis getting onto the tail of Ryan Eason in this battle for 6th and 7th place in the GT4s. Professor nearly pushing the Jurassic Racing Camaro of Ryan Eason along, but not able to find the room to get past. This battle certainly heating up the closing stages of the race here. Oh, 3 wide! Can the Professor? He can! He sneaks through the inside, down through Dingle Dell before Sheen's Curve even comes. The number 42 gets past Ryan Eason, and he can look ahead now to Dom Matroni, up in 5th place in the GT4s. Very skillful, advantageous move from the Professor to get through Ryan Eason, who will certainly try not to give him any breathing room, as those two pretty evenly matched on pace, I would say, will look to continue their battle come the closing laps of the race. And there is that overlap between the GT3s and the GT4s forcing the Professor to the outside line, and Ryan Eason nearly having a look down the inside of Druids and power sliding it on the way out. And now dropping back just that little bit. Andre Alex Afonso having a look around the outside of the final corner, trying to get that switchback done on Dr. Porkchop. The two minty cars here battling for position in the GT4s. Can Porkchop defend the position down the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, and down the hill they go. AMG pretty well in front for the time being. A little bit deep though in the braking zone is Dr. Porkchop, allowing Afonso just that little bit closer in the 999 Maserati. Up the hill through Surtees and back down they go. Can the Maseratis shape up a move through Hawthorne's very, very difficult corner to get a move lined up unless you're already side by side? Going down Pilgrim's Drop, the Maserati kicking the wheels into the grass on the exit of Hawthorne's before Westfield, and down through Pilgrim's Drop. The AMG still in front of the Maserati on this lap. And not too far behind is the battling duo of Jake Wells and Chandler Williams. You have Jake Wells in the 527 McLaren in front of the number 3 Bentley of Chandler Williams, approaching that battling duo of Afonso and Dr. Porkchop. Both of them are going to be able to get through in a very good position here down the start-finish straight before Paddock Hill Bend even comes. And now Jake Wells just has the Bentley behind in his mirrors, and he will try to maintain the position. The two British manufacturers on home soil here, looking to get the places settled in the closing stages of the race here. The right-hand drive Bentley, very interesting to see that on the grid being used, but he is certainly extracting all of the pace of that Bentley, getting right on the tail of the McLaren, not giving him any breathing space down through Pilgrim's Drop. But through this twisty section, very difficult for the wide GT3s to go side by side around the very narrow Brands Hatch track. So Chandler Williams will try and force a bit of a mistake from Jake Wells in front, but he will look to keep the lap time very consistent and look to work his way through the GT4 field effectively should he need to once more come the closing stages of the race. And this battle still continuing. Ryan Eason able to get back through the Professor in their battle for 6th and 7th place in the GT4s. Ryan Eason in the Jurassic Racing out in front, but the Professor Chronotis, I should say, has found a way past once. Can he find it again? Lining it up down the inside of Sheen's curve, but Ryan Eason confident on the brakes around the outside, not giving any room to the Professor to work with, and Alex Freeman looking to close the gap to this battling duo up in front. Ryan Eason staying right in the middle of the track, not allowing the Professor any room, and they are tapping their way through the final corner and onto the Brabham Straight they go. Professor Chronotis has Alex Freeman not too far in his mirrors now. Will certainly be in the middle of a battling trio should Alex Freeman be able to close the gap in his number 14 Aston Martin. Is with the back of Jake Wells car is seeing the Bentley getting very close through the braking zone at Druids. But Jake Wells managing the power very well, just bleeding it onto the gas. Able to get a good exit as well there after turn 3. But this is the place we saw on the previous lap where the Bentley has a good run on the McLaren, but not quite able to close the gap as effectively as we saw on the last lap. Perhaps just a little bit of traffic getting into play there. Oh, and Ryan Eason down the inside defending from Professor Chronotis. Can he sweep around the outside and get the move done and dusted? And Alex Freeman looking to have a nibble of anything that might come his way as well. Ryan Eason not going deep, not allowing the switch back, but just a wheel into the grass might slow him down into the braking zone at Druids, taking his usual racing line. And now here comes Professor Chronotis trying to get the switchback done on Ryan Eason, but he is really not giving him any room. Alex Freeman also trying to get any sort of position that he possibly can. The Bentley is intimidating. I certainly agree. Kyle Hirsch, you need to be racing with us, Kyle. What happened? We usually see you here on Wednesdays, don't we? So here the Professor going down Pilgrim's Drop. Not able to get on the bumper of Ryan Eason as close as he would like into the braking zone. Work got in the way. I feel that, my friend. Well, hopefully we'll see you out on track anytime soon, my friend. Always good to see you out there racing with the fellow GT3s or GT4s, and there's contact. Ryan Eason and Alex Freeman also getting involved in the mix. Let's take a look and see what happened there. So Ryan Eason running a little bit wide, and with the Professor on the inside there, and Alex Freeman unfortunately going into the side as well, losing just a little bit of time, are both Professor Chronotis, who is in front of Ryan Eason, and Alex Freeman in front of Ryan Eason as well. Brian DeSantiago benefiting from that bit of contact as well as he goes through on the number 2 Jurassic Racing. So fortunately for Ryan Eason, he is able to escape with very minimal damage. There was a change in the lead in the GT3 lead as well. Chandler Williams in the Bentley out in front. There's a bit of traffic in the background there, so maybe, just maybe, a bit of trouble for Jake Wells working his way through there. And Chandler Williams in the Bentley in the lead. Just under 6 minutes left for Jake Wells in the McLaren to try and change things up. But nonetheless, Chandler Williams finds himself out in the lead. Jake Wells in second place. Thiago Dinarte in third, just about 3 seconds off of this battle. Ricardo Rivera closing the gap very well. It's right around 3 seconds between him and Thiago Dinarte, with Jason Provolone rounding out the top 5 in the GT3s. The lead for the GT4s is changing lap by lap. It was Ilpo, then it was Neil. After the pit stops, it was Ilpo again, and Neil Kerbel closing the gap very, very effectively to the 204 Camaro. And now looking to line up a move. Through Surtees they go, just a little uphill climb before going down the longest straight at Brands Hatch. The one place the McLaren might use its straight line speed to its advantage, and the Porsche there trying to work its way through as well. Maybe a little bit of contact there between the two, slowing down the McLaren just that little bit, giving a bit of breathing room to Ilpo in the lead of the GT4 race. So that gap just now opening up a little bit with the GT3s going through Neil Kerbel, but they will have to do the same for Ilpo. So will this be the moment that Neil Kerbel will look to capitalize? There's the Porsche. That's the 620 of Jaeger Karu going through, and there is the McLaren of Taylor going through down the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, and now through the back of the car, all Ilpo can see is the McLaren of Neil Kerbel. The bright green in the mirrors will certainly be bright and apparent, but he's just not quite close enough to make a move yet, is the McLaren. But he will look to try and sneak past and get the race lead back after starting in pole position. 3.5 minutes separates us from the checkered flag. Can Neil Kerbel battle his way past Ilpo and get another win in the multi-class race this evening? Just not quite close enough again on this occasion, taking the curbs very heavily on the inside. The Bentley of Chandler Williams is approaching this duo. The leaders of the GT3s approaching the GT4s. But now just less than a handful of laps separating us from the time going to 0, and Chandler Williams around the outside. Ilpo having to defend the inside from Neil Kerbel, who is drifting it through Paddock Hill Bend. Ilpo going to the inside. The McLaren of Jake Wells trying to find his way through in the GT3 compared to the GT4s. He will have the outside going through Graham Hill Bend. Ilpo having to take the inside might slow him down on the corner exit. It's gonna be side by side between the GT4 leaders. A bit of contact between the 395 and the and the 204. I was holding my breath there as the 395 able to hold it after touching the grass on the outside of Surtees. Keeps the car pointed forward and still in second place. There was Ricardo Rivera and Thiago Dinarte both going through the battling duo, and Ricardo Rivera is within a second of Thiago Dinarte as the leaders come up to the start-finish line to start their final lap of round 2. So there you heard the call from the race director. Chandler Williams across the line to start his final lap. Then he is followed by Jake Wells with Thiago Dinarte in third. Ricardo Rivera, very quick driver in the 53 Ferrari, closing the gap, but is there enough time for him to get on the bumper of Thiago and potentially get the move done? But it doesn't look like he's going to be close enough on this occasion. For Thiago Dinarte feeling the pressure, running a little bit wide on the exit of turn 3 before Surtees, and the KTM of Landcloud in front getting out of the way nicely on the exit of the corner for both of these drivers. So now just a handful or less, or yeah, just about a handful of corners to go here for this battling duo for that final podium position. There is Colin Sugg in the number 34 Slug Racing Porsche, giving just about enough room to Ricardo Rivera to go on through and try and challenge Thiago Dinarte, but that gap opening up just that slight bit. But out in front, Chandler Williams rounds the final corner, takes the Brabham straight for the final time, and he will take the race win of round 2 in the GT3s, followed by Jake Wells in second place. Thiago Dinarte finishes out on the podium with Ricardo Rivera hot on his tail in 4th place. Jason Provolone will be next across the line in 5th place of the GT3s, and Ilpo Ruotsalainen hanging on by a thread, a 10th separating him from Neil Kerbel across the line. But congrats to Ilpo taking the race win in the GT4s. Neil Kerbel across the line in 2nd place. Austin Doyle getting a podium finish in the GT4s as well. Rob Abrochta in 4th, Dom Matroni in 5th, Professor Chronotis across the line in 6th in the GT4s. Then you have Alex Freeman in 7th place, Jason Provolone across the line in 5th in the GT3s. Then you have Ryan Cooper in 6th, followed by Matt Taylor in 7th place. In the number 100, he has the 617 of Shane Sullivan in front there as the duo go side by side in between turn 8 and turn 9. 1 corner left for them to negotiate. So with that, the GT3 field finishes Chandler Williams in front. Then you have Jake Wells, Thiago Dinarte in 3rd, Ricardo Rivera 4th, Jason Provolone 5th, Ryan Cooper in 6th, Matt Taylor is in 7th, Ryan Bishop in 8th, Jaeger Karu in 9th, Aaron John in 10th, Buggy Watt in 11th. In the GT4s, Ilpo Ruotsalainen finishes up front with Neil Kerbel in 2nd, Austin Doyle in a podium finish with Rob Abrochta behind them, then Dom Matroni, then Professor Chronotis, Alex Freeman behind with Brian DeSantiago, Ryan Eason, Shane Sullivan rounding out the top 10. And then you have Andre Alex Afonso with Dr. Porkchop behind him. And that is unfortunately all we could get to before the session forwarded. And there is the rain after the session forwarded. Not to come during the race. It has come now at the end of the session. We'd like to invite the podium sitters from both the GT3s and the GT4s into the green room for a quick chat to see how your guys' race went on. Hey, Jake Wells, thanks for subscribing, my friend. Congrats on that podium finish. Thank you for that subscription, my friend. Awesome to have you on board as always. Big friend of the program is our good friend Jake Wells. Hopefully we'll get to hear from him in Art Trackalicious studio. I'm gonna quick chat with Art Podium. Sitters, we got the GT3 field in here. Let's pull in Jake Wells. Howdy, Jake. How's it going, my friend?
I am all right. How are you, sir?
Oh, I can't complain. It's a good way to spend a Wednesday night looking at all this action. And speaking of action, you came across a fair bit of it at the end there with Chandler Williams in the Bentley.
Yep.
Yeah, so we didn't quite catch the overtake of what happened there. Talk us through what happened there as we are going to pull in Chandler Williams as well. Hello, Chandler.
Coming around the second and final corner, got squeezed pretty heavy, and Chandler was able to get a better exit. Didn't get squeezed from him, but just got squeezed from GT4. And after that, it was game over with the Bentley's acceleration. It was gone. Acceleration, straight line speed compared to the McLaren on this track was, yeah, it was it was gone.
Yeah, well, it certainly happens with the multi-class. Anything can happen, and with the nature of Brands Hatch, it's just such a flowy circuit, and it's so narrow. It's not a lot of runoff, too, and there's just grass everywhere, so any little bit of wheel that you kick up will certainly cost you that bit of time. So unfortunate to hear that that is what cost you the race win, but still very good pace out there from you in the McLaren. And Chandler, talk us through that move from your perspective, seeing what happened with the GT4s in front.
Are you talking about the move I passed?
Yeah.
Coming over that right-hand hump, I noticed there was some carnage in the dip, and I know that there was a car on the outside that hasn't gone into the turn, so I was like, okay, we're going to take the inside turn. It's going to be pretty, we're going to come out with low speed. So, he went in there, and then I noticed, he had to brake a lot more, because of the carnage, and then I kind of set myself up to capitalize on the carnage. So, I went out, and then went out on the grass a little bit, and then Bentley just kind of powered through it, and then we went side by side in the last turn, and then yeah, was just kind of I pulled away after that. But
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, no, just
it was actually funny because the next lap, the same turn, another wreck happened, like almost the exact same way.
oh wow,
But
really?
I don't know if you saw it. And then he almost got a run on me, but it just wasn't enough. But yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, the cheese machine did it.
Yeah, just a kind of just why were any particular reason you chose the Bentley for this season?
So me and Denarte have, we do so much racing together. We have decided that the Mustang is kind of something we're checking off our list about driving. It just gets nerfed and messed with everywhere, and he doesn't. Most people, they roll their eyes whenever they see Mustang drivers. So we're switching cars. Going to the Bentley.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so that's our new main car, and we're done with the Mustang.
There you go.
On to the next.
On to the next, indeed. Well, you two have certainly always battled it out on track, and it's always fun to see you two finish on the podiums as well. And Jake, thanks for that subscription as well, my friend. So means a lot to us here. So yeah, big thanks to you from all the Trackalicious community. And yeah, always happy to have both of you on the same grid, showing us what great talent America has to offer in the sim racing world.
It's so fun racing as well.
Yeah, we'll drag you guys back over to the green room here, and we will bring in our GT4 podium sitters. Congrats to Chandler Williams, Jake Wells, and Tiago Dinarte. So now we will pull in our good friends Austin Doyle and Neil Kerbel, the GT4 podium sitters. How are you guys doing tonight?
Tired once again.
Tired once again. Yeah, it seemed like a bit of a tired one, battling with Ilpo the entire time.
Yeah, I made some misjudgments, and I gave the position back, so hopefully there's no hard feelings. It's just bad judgment on my part.
Yeah, we saw a bit of rubbing there on the broadcast, but certainly nothing too malicious, it seemed like, on your end, So, yeah, I would say the same thing. Like, good. It's always good to have that sportsmanship where, and you guys certainly know each other too, pretty personally. I would think pretty personally. So I don't think, yeah. Knowing the Trackalicious community, there's never really hard feelings between a lot of the drivers. And Austin, how was that race for you? There was a bit of a moment there with you in some of the other GT4s, I believe, that have already completed their pit stop, just getting a little bit pushed wide at turn 1. Talk us through that moment.
Yeah, the BMW had let me pass before we got to the front straight, and then next thing I knew, he was coming up they were coming up my inside at places, and just kind of got shuffled out. It's not much else there. I got hip checked by a GT3 car coming out of turn 5 earlier in the race too, so I was carrying damage for most of the race. I don't think I could have touched Kerbel and Ilpo though. They're just too fast.
Yeah, so after the pit, did you end up getting you didn't fix your damage during the pit stop then?
No.
Oh, nice. Well, that's good. Able to keep that momentum going and finish out on a podium.
Yeah, I had a great first lap. That I went from, I think I was 3rd at the end of the first lap.
Yeah, if I remember right, I think you qualified in like 5th or 6th.
Something like that.
Yeah, but yeah, great jump at the start there, certainly. Yeah, we were kind of expecting a bit of wet weather based on how all of the predictions were going to be in the server earlier on, but dry conditions, were you guys prepared for the dry conditions, or did you guys more prepare for the wet?
I was by no means prepared.
Oh yeah, you should tell him how you showed up, Austin.
I got off work at 9:25 and made quali with 2 minutes into our qualifying.
Nice.
To start racing.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't help that the GT4s go first.
Yeah, no. I was happy to just set a qualifying lap, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking to myself, like, wow, I haven't seen Austin's name like in the in the timing chart like the whole time, and then you popped up in the top 5, and I was like, oh, there he is.
Yeah, I was on like super hot tires. I want to say my tire temps were like 20, 28, 29 degrees all the way around for my quali lap too. It was painful.
Yeah,
But that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I can imagine certainly getting a bit hot after that. But still, congrats to both of you finishing on the podium here at round 2. Congratulations, and good luck to you guys in the remaining rounds.
Thanks, Cozy. Hopefully we gave you a lot of fun stuff to watch.
Oh yeah, certainly. Certainly lots of fun. Move you guys back here to the green room. Congrats to them and all of the drivers able to take the checkered flag in today's race. If you enjoyed the multi-class action tonight, there will be more tomorrow in iRacing. We've got the LMP2 and the GT3 multi-class championship starting on Thursdays, I should say. On Fridays, we've got on this Friday, I should say, we have the conclusion of the 3-round championship in Le Mans Ultimate in the GT3s at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Should be super exciting with the Le Mans update that was brought out into play on Tuesday. So with them getting used to that tire model, that will be a certainly interesting race for us to watch on Friday. Saturday, nothing going on. And then on Sunday, we take it back to ACC in the GT3 Sunday Championship. On Mondays, we go to the GT4 Rookies season. And then on Tuesdays, back to Le Mans Ultimate in the Hypercar and GT3 Multi-Class Championship before going back to Wednesdays in ACC in the GT3 and GT4 Championship you saw this evening. Join the Discord to keep up to date with all of the latest news and championship announcements. There is also Tyler's birthday bash, co-commentator on Monday night. Tyler Morgan having his birthday bash on July 7th. Make sure to sign up for that. We are trying to get as big of a grid as he can to absolutely blow the roof off of Suzuka. So if you're interested in signing up in that and any other of the Tracklicious Championships, !SimGrid will take you to those sign up pages, !Discord to join the Discord, and all of that good stuff. Thanks to everybody watching. Thanks to everybody chatting along. It has been a super fun multi-class race this evening. Make sure to stick around for the raid. We're going to get a raid set up here this evening. Make sure to show the love from one Trackalicious community to another. With the Le Mans update in play, there's plenty of drivers and streamers doing Le Mans Ultimate, so let's show them some love from Trackalicious. Make sure to tell them Trackalicious sent you. Hope you all enjoyed round 2 around Brands Hatch in the GT3 and GT4 Multi-Class Championship. And yeah, happy hump day, happy Wednesday. Hope you all have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you may be joining us from. Thank you, as always, from me and the rest of the Trackalicious crew. We will catch you all next time.